They gave their children death toys in the Victorian era. In the Victorian era, toys were brightly colored, mostly using lead paint, and lead was also malleable enough to where they made toy soldiers with it. And because lead paint doesn't have an unpleasant taste, children were very likely to put their toys in their mouth or lick them. And just one flake could be enough to poison them and attack their nervous system. Also in the Victorian era, they used baby bottles that were porous and basically were susceptible to very terrible bacterial growth, and basically kind of killed their children by accident, and which led to a low infant mortality rate. The Victorians put poison in everything. I know I've done quite a few videos on the Victorian era, but it's so interesting to me just because how insane it was. They would add adulterations to food to make it heavy or colorful to charge consumers more for it. A very common one was called alum, and they put it in bread to make it heavier to charge more, and also they would put bleach in it. Girl, it was wild. They would also put poisonous dyes in their tea. They literally would put Prussian blue in it. Girl. And in my last video I mentioned baby bottles. Girl, they would put borax in milk to purify it if it had spoiled and feed it to their babies. Girl. They would also put arsenic in their wallpaper. Girl. And they thought that was totally fine. If you ever go back in time, just don't ever eat food in the Victorian era. Just don't. The Victorians would take gas baths. So you guys apparently really like me talking about the Victorian era, and I don't mind. As we learned from my previous videos, the Victorian era, people were stupid and would kill themselves by accident a lot. Well, with the invention of indoor plumbing and the wide access to it indoors, the bathroom was created. A new appliance emerged called a gas bathtub, which was a bathtub, regular bathtub, and at the bottom end of it was a small cage where you could light a fire to boil up or make the water hot. Do you see where this is going? These people would boil themselves. They would literally pass out and boil themselves or severely burn themselves because they didn't turn off the fire when they got in the bathtub. Girl! Even the stairs could kill you in the Victorian era. Yes, people still die from the stairs today, but back in the Victorian era, they didn't really care about making them correctly because people are greedy. Servant staircases were built with very little care or intent than the rather grand staircases that they would have for their house. Servant staircases were built very steep, very narrow, and with very uneven steps, and no handrails. None. This, gone. No ma'am. And people were 6 times more likely to fall on these specific steps. And if you were a maid holding the laundry and your skirt, girl, you're gonna fall. Even to this day, if steps are a fraction of an inch off from another one, you will fall 100% no matter what. And if you were a housemaid in the Victorian era, you became best friends with that staircase real quick. The Victorians would set raisins on fire for fun. They would take raisins and put it in a bowl of rum and then light it on fire. They then would count tally of who would get the most raisins. They would pick them out and eat them without getting burned or who had the most. I wish I was making it up. Also, please do not play Snapdragon. There's a reason it's not played anymore. Don't do it. I dog on the Victorian era a lot, but here's a couple things they actually did was pretty interesting. They didn't have gender colors. So pink for girls and blue for boys is a very modern thing that rose about in consumerism in America in like the 40s and 50s. And they didn't do that. A lot of babies, all babies, period, actually, both boy and girl, wore white lace dresses and a bonnet or some type of lace dress. All babies, no matter what, period. Fierce. Another thing is they actually used honey and charcoal to brush their teeth in like a toothpaste mix, which actually kind of makes sense now that today there is activated charcoal in a lot of toothpaste, if not charcoal toothpaste. They do be making some sense sometimes. Victorian toilets would explode. Whether you were on it or not, you could have very well James Bonded Jimmy Neutroned yourself off the pot. If you remember my Victorian gas bath video, I mentioned indoor plumbing was fairly a new thing. And because of that, buildups of methane from waste would compact together and compress and cause toilets and also sewer sectors underground to explode. Until Thomas Crapper, yes, that's his name, invented the siphon valve to circulate the methane back out into the sewers and not into the toilet and compact and explode. It got rid of the exploding toilet problem, but all the methane would still build up in the underground sewers and ignite. Whew.